um, what powers, functions, and role of those electricity institutions. And I said, as you know, generally, the regulator is the engine room of effective sector governance and regulation. And that's why Electricity Act creates a number of regulatory institutions and bodies with specific functions under the law. By way of overview, Electricity Act creates national integrated electricity policy and strategic implementation plan. It creates the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. It creates National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, IPADEC. It creates Power Consumer Assistance Fund. It creates Rural Electrification Fund, Rural Electrification Agency. It establishes the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA, as well as National Power Training Institute of Nigeria, NAPTIN. The National Integrated Electricity Policy and Strategic Implementation Plan are not regulatory institutions per se. By virtue of Section 3, they are just policy documents to guide the federal government in its policies in the power sector. So that was why recently we had an integrated national electricity policy strategies approved by the Federal Executive Council. This seeks to do a number of things. One, development of electric power sector based on optimal utilization of resources, such as coal, natural gas, nuclear substances, and materials, as well as renewable energy sources, such as solar, wind, hydrogen, and others. It also seeks to promote captive generation and standalone system for electricity generation, particularly in the rural areas, as well as non-conventional energy systems. Seeks to also promote rural electrification and for bulk purchase of power and management of local distribution areas. The policy seeks to stimulate public-private partnership for provision of access to electricity to all areas, including villages, hamlets, and the rest. It also ensures power source specific, like policy, including waiver subsidies. It regulates that subsidies, waivers, and the rest to stimulate development of renewables. It guides the overall development plans of the electricity value chain in Nigeria by placing emphasis on alignment of expansion of generation, transmission, distribution, and supply infrastructure, among others. As I said, it's not law, but to the extent to which it's been incorporated into the law, it has transited mere policy instrument to becoming a policy with a flavor of law. That's now incorporated and codified. Becomes binding. Becomes a policy that must be implemented. Having been approved by Federal Electric Council as provided. Then It gives ministers power and function specifically with regards to the power sector, and those are listed there. It says, beyond specific powers of ministers, the Act also confers specific functions and responsibility in the ministry responsible for power. So the ministry responsible for power is the coordinating ministry to carry out public-private partnership arrangement under appropriate statutory work. The ministry is to coordinate activities of power sector, including engagement with various states and local government regarding the provision, regarding the policy structure, subsidy regime, and what have you. The handling of power sector policy research and the rest. Participating in bilateral, multilateral relations for the power sector. The ministry responsible for power also advises the minister on all matters pertaining to conventional and renewable energy institutions. Of course, it recommends to government from time to time measures and what have you for purpose of the power sector. And a whole lot of other functions of the ministry are indicated there. One of the new developments in the power sector is that it creates independent system operator, NISO. We now have a Nigerian independent system operator created from the TCN. One of the innovations brought about by the Electricity Act is the separation of the role of system operator from that of the transmission company of Nigeria. Under the old structure, TCN had dual functionality in relation to network and system operation activities. So it functions both as transmission service provider and as a system operator. But with the current arrangement, we now have a separate Dixon entity, independent system operator, ISO, which has now been registered as provided by the Act. And NRC has so licensed it to be able to perform that role distinct from the functions of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. So the functions of ISO are listed in there. I get to see the list of functions, comprehensive list of functions of the ISO, and the material sent to your class level. Is that okay? So aside that, the functions of ISO is extensive and comprehensive, is there for you guys to see. And then the transfer of employees to ISOs and the rest is also there. Completion of the ISO board is also provided for in the law, so that you guys can look at it. Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission remains a major regulatory body in the power sector. It is provided for under Section 33 of the Act, and the law gives it extensive powers to be able to do a whole lot of things. The principal functions of the NERC are listed in it, and includes power to create, promote, and preserve efficient electricity industry and market structures, and to ensure the optimal utilization of resources for the provisions of electricity services. It maximizes access to electricity services by promoting and facilitating consumer connection to distribution systems in both rural and urban areas. It ensures adequate supply of electricity to consumers. ensure that the prices charged by licensees are fair to consumers and are sufficient to allow the licensees to finance their activities and allow for reasonable profit for efficient operation, as well as to ensure the safety, security, reliability, and quality of service in the production and delivery of electricity to consumers, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are other functions of the NRC, which is to ensure regulation is fair and balanced, present quarterly report to the President and the National Assembly, issue directive and carry out measures for gradual development and smooth operation of the various stages of the market, meaning the electricity market, provides for development and utilization of renewable energy services, and increase contribution of renewable to national or to Nigeria's energy mix, and so on and so forth. Of course, as you know, NERC is the one that licenses persons, meaning natural persons, to carry out activities in the power sector. Is specifically charged with promoting competition and private sector participation in the privatized sector of Nigeria. Its function includes to approve appropriate operating codes, establish appropriate consumer rights and obligations in that regard. It licenses and regulates persons engaged in generation, transmission, system operation, distribution, supply, and trading of electricity. NERC also approves amendment to the market rules in accordance with the procedures laid out. It monitors electricity markets and sanctions licensee in certain circumstances in accordance with the provision of the Act and other subsidiary legislation. Under the Act, it intervenes in the management and control of the affairs of its licensees and permit holders which it considers as failing or in crisis, including entering the premises and doing whatever the Commission deems necessary to maintain continuity in the provision of electricity services and ensuring the integrity of the NERC generally. NERC means Nigerian Electricity Supply Industry. NERC means Nigerian Electricity Supply Industry. The law gives it power to seal and enter the premises of persons operating without a license or persons suspected to have committed an offense under the Act. It carries out examination, inquiry, inspection of all books, records, account, documents, and what have been required to be kept by a licensee under the Act, including inspection at reasonable times in the situation of premises used by the licensees. So generally, NRC is the chief regulator and has extensive powers to regulate for efficiency in the power sector. In terms of structure, of course, it has 7 commissioners, and here to read the qualification of the commissioners, who can be appointed the commissioner, what are the terms and the duration, removal of commissioners, and so on and so forth. It also bars certain persons from taking or accepting certain offers, meaning if you leave NLC, you cannot immediately become a director in an entity that you are representing. So many other functions like that that develop. So it will be interesting for you to look at what the Act says as to the powers, duties, functions, or restrictions of commissioners. It also provides for remuneration and the rest of those commissioners. Commissioners meaning commissioners of Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. So any NLC also carries out certain procedures. The commission conducts its proceedings at hearing at its headquarters or any place in Nigeria. They conduct proceedings or hearing of complaints from consumers or from companies in the power sector, licenses in the power sector as part of their regulatory function. When they carry out such proceedings, they give decisions and issue orders directing certain things to be done. Of course, I will expect the class to check the NRC website, check for examples of orders issued by the NRC so that you understand what is meant by orders. If you go on their website, you see a number of orders already issued by the NRC. Order for this, order for that, direction on this and that. So a better understanding of what NRC does and how it carries out its functions under the law. It also gives interim orders, just like courts. Then the Act provides for reference of any question of law from an order or decision of the commission so moto, that is on its own initiative or at the request of any person directly affected by such order. And the commission shall state the question in the form of a case and file at the registry of the federal record. Technically, this is referred to as case stated. The law gives NRC powers to rehear a matter or hear such by way of appeals. And subject to the section, any person who is aggrieved A by a decision of the commission not to issue a license, B, any time or condition of license issued to him, or a refusal by the commission to specify a time or condition of the license, a refusal by the commission to review a license, B, any amendment of the license or refusal by the commission to amend the license, E, cancellation of license, grant or refusal of the commission to grant any approval or any authority in terms of the Act. The outcome of any arbitration or mediation by the commission of any dispute between licensees. A decision of the commission with respect to prices or tariffs or any other decision of the commission. Those categories of persons as listed above may apply to the commission for a review of its decision order or of the basis of the refusal, meaning decision of NRC might not be final. You can appeal to them, apply to them to rehear the matter or file it by way of an appeal against such decision. And they're bound to look at it and do the needful. The Commission has its own budget and fund statutorily. Its funds statutorily, meaning funds that the law allows you to have. That provides a number of funding options for the Commission, which includes fees, charges, and other income accruing to the Commission from licensing and other things done by it in terms of the Act, excluding any fines or penalties recovered under the Act. Funds allocated to the Commission by the National Assembly under a request by the Commission for additional funds required to meet its reasonable expenditure. As such other money as may best in or accrue to the Commission, whether in the course of its operations or otherwise. In the financial year of the Commission, the law says will be from January 1 to December 31st. And the law also requires that the account of the Commission will be audited. The law gives extensive powers to the NERC, and I will expect, as part of the clinical legal approach, go on the website of the NERC to read some of the orders and decisions issued by the NERC. That is important. And download a few, one or two, at least, to guide you as to the rationale as and form of such orders. Okay. Any questions on NERC? Any questions on NERC? Are there people in this class?
No questions, sir.
Yes, sir.
No
We are here.
questions, sir. There are people in the class.
Next is the National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission. This is similar to development commission that we have in the petroleum sector. The House confers membership status of the commission on any state where hydroelectric power is generated. Any state that generates hydroelectric power is covered by the commission. It provides for membership from all the states. The number of them are representation from other areas. Governing Council. The Act established a appointed Governing Council, meaning the Commission's Governing Council. It says it shall consist of a chairman who shall be appointed on part-time basis and shall preside over council meeting. One person each also. shall be appointed from the affected communities to represent the hydro states. The states are Benue, Gombe, Kaduna, Kebbi, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, Plateau, Taraba, and any other state affected by the activities of hydroelectric power generated on rivers Benue, Niger, or any inland waterway has been designated by the National Assembly to be an international waterway or interstate waterway. That is meaning if hydroelectric power is generated from your state, or you have a dam where hydroelectric power is generated and transmitted, your state will be an automatic member of the commission. The chairman and other members of the council shall be appointed by the president, subject to confirmation by the Senate, except the persons mentioned in subsection 1D, whose appointment shall not be subject to confirmation by the Senate. The office of the chairman shall rotate among the member states in the following alphabetical order: Benue, Kebbi, Kogi, Niger, Kwara, Plateau, Gombe, Kaduna, Nasarawa, Taraba, and any other state where hydroelectric power is generated. That's what the next section. The law gives the council power to do a few things. The law gives the council power to make internal policy direction and oversee the affairs of NHYPDAUC. Provides for internal policy guidelines to carry out its function. Center and inspect premises. Approve payment to the staff. Enter into source contract as may be necessary and expedient. Approve the appointment, promotion, and discipline of senior staff. And do such other things which are necessary and expedient for the efficient performance of his function. His functions are listed. 1, to carry out, to formulate policies and guidelines for development of hydroelectric power producing areas, blah, blah, blah. To conceive, plan, and implement such programs. To carry out a survey of hydroelectric power producing areas in order to ascertain measures which are necessary to promote its physical development. To prepare schemes designed to promote the physical development of the hydroelectric power producing areas and estimate the cost of implementing such schemes. Implementing all measures approved for the development of hydroelectric power producing areas by the federal government. Identifying factors limiting development of the hydroelectric power producing areas and assist it in the formulation and implementation of policies to ensure sound and efficient management of the resources of the hydroelectric power producing areas. Assess and report on any project being funded or carried out in the hydroelectric power producing areas and ensure that funds released for such projects are properly utilized. To tackle ecological problems that arise from overloading of dams in the hydroelectric power producing areas, and advise federal and state governments on the prevention and control of flood and environmental hazards. It executes such other work and performs such other functions, which in the opinion are required for the development of the hydroelectric power producing areas and their people, as well as perform other functions as the president made so direct. It's got a number of structure, in terms of structure. It's got 5 directorates for its day-to-day activities. We have the Directorate of Finance, Directorate of Finance and Administration, Directorate of Operations, Directorate of Engineering and Technical Services, Directorate of Commercial and Rural Development, Directorate of Legal Services, Directorate of Planning, Research and Statistics. Directorate of Planning and Statistics. Then its other activities are listed. The sources of his funds are also provided for. And the law requires it to send quarterly reports to the presidency. Power Consumer Assistance Fund. That's another body under the briefly put, Power Consumer Assistance Fund PCAF is not a regulatory institution, but a designated fund. Designated funds for underprivileged electricity consumers in Nigeria. That is it. It's like a subsidy regime where licenses and others contribute, and government uses it to subsidize low income earners to be able to consume electricity. That's the function of PCAF. And the law provides a number of things PCAF must do and what have you. Another agency to bear in mind is Rural Electrification Agency and Rural Electrification Fund. Rural Electrification Agency and Rural Electrification Fund. Both are established as a corporate body with perpetual association and a common seat, just like any other body. The Rural Electrification Agency was created for a number of objectives. One of which is to create an enabling channel. To create a channel for entering into market for rural, unserved, or underserved electrification services. Is to ensure that rural, unserved, and underserved electrification services are provided with electricity by its name, rural electrification, to focus on areas that have been neglected in terms of electricity. to promote the development and ensure the implementation of government's policies for rural electrification, as well as execution of force or such other contracts. Promote the development and ensure the implementation of government policies, particularly on rural electrification and the rest. To promote electricity access for rural, unserved and underserved populations through unfettered access to electricity facilities. To promote the development of off-grid electrification to rural, unserved and underserved areas, as well as to provide framework to support utilization of renewables, use of renewable energy, diversification, access, public education, and so on and so forth. The TIE Zone Board, which takes decisions for it from time to time, and the law provides for the requirement or the qualification of persons to be appointed to the board of rural electrification agency, and so on and so forth. The electrification fund, on the other hand, is, as I said, is a pool of funding resources created for rural electrification, because it's an intervention fund that enables players to access resources to extend electricity access to underserved and unserved areas. And the sources of the funds are listed. Sources of the funds are listed. Operation surplus of the commission, fine and penalties imposed, donation gifts and whatever, loans and what have you, bilateral funding from agency are all sources of funds for the electrification fund, from which Nigerians and other players may apply for loans to run or undertake rural electrification project. It also gets funds appropriated to it from the National Assembly, and so on and so forth. It has access to funds through a number of processes and options as listed in the house. Then the law provides for other mundane things like limitation of lawsuits against ratification and what have you. Another agency which I want to briefly mention, it remains two or three anyway, is NEMSA. NEMSA is Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency. It was established as a separate entity before under the NEMSA Act of 2015. But the NEMSA Act has been repealed and made part of the Electricity Act. So it's now regulated by the Electricity Act of 2023, not by the NEMSA deals with standards. It provides solutions to electricity problems. NEMSA is the agency responsible for electrical management services, meaning standards. If you bring in your cable bring in your transformers, bring in your other electrical components. NEMSA is the one to ensure that it is up to standard, up to acceptable standard, so that don't bring fake cables that will set houses ablaze and cause loss of lives and property and properties. So NEMSA is like a regulator in terms of standards and quality of electrical materials brought into the country. So NEMSA has a managing director, another executive. It has a number of directorate, technical directorates, commercial services, corporate services, and so on and so forth. Funds of NEMSA also include fees, charges, and any other income accruing to NEMSA from certifications and other things done by it on that behalf. So, NEMSA certifies so as to those electrical components. If you want to construct your power plants and you bring in equipment from overseas, NEMSA will go down and conduct technical evaluation to be sure they are up to standard, and it will so certify that this equipment has been this and that, and they certify that it is good and up to the current standards of the Nigerian market, so that you don't want to create a situation, don't want a situation in which dangerous electrical equipment, fake dangerous electrical equipment are shipped into the country. There will be electrocuting people, snapping off high tension cables that will affect people. So NEMSA does all those terms of standardization. Then that services parts of the country, and it has specific guidelines on certification and related matters. Then NAPTIN. NAPTIN is National Power Training Institute of Nigeria. Let's say hard, of course, it's mindful of the imperative of education and training. And it's created an institute called National Power Training Institute as a body corporate with perpetual succession of common say. The functions of the institute include to serve as a focal point for human resources development and workforce capacity building, as well as research center for matters relating to electric power in Nigeria and possibly in Africa. Offer engineering, technical, and other training or certificate programs in collaboration with both foreign and local institutes for professionals and practitioners in the power sector, and serve as a pupillage center, affiliation school for graduates of engineering. It provides capacity in formulating and implementing project and what have you. Provide customer-focused training and development solutions. Design, install effective maintenance programs and what have you. Organizes support, encourage, maintain training facilities and what have you. So the functions are extensive. It also undertakes project consultancies in relation to generation, transmission, distribution, and related. It has its own government council and others who are in charge of the activities of that body. Any question? So lastly, let me talk about Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, MBET. Bulk trading is contained in chapter 17 of the Blue Book from pages 418 to 453. (418) to 453. Nigerian bulk trader is also referred to as embed or bulk trader, Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC. The body was formed under the Repeal Electric Power Sector Reform. Embed is a bulk buyer of electricity. The essence of bulk buyer is to create a commercial assurance that gas will be available for the market. So it was set up as a kind of guarantee by the federal government for investors to trade. Meaning, if you are in the power sector, you need gas as a feedstock. How do you get gas? Who pays for it? Can you get gas at competitive prices? So because people are not willing to supply gas for domestic use, particularly for the power plants, the government set up the bulk trader, meaning whatever gas is available out there, federal government will mop it up and provide a kind of guarantees, sovereign guarantees, to stabilize the market so that gas will be available for the gencos to generate and distribute gas to the discos, and the discos to distribute to homes and offices. The federal government was the one actually controlling activities of embed. Embed was like an agent of the federal government. Embed engages the companies producing gas and enters into a kind of deal with them because of the sovereign guarantees of the federal government of Nigeria. They are not regulators, strictly speaking. They are industry players. I will have similar operation in other countries. You have similar operations in other countries where embed also carries out activities. The most important thing is to realize that embed has been created as embed has been created as a stopgap arrangement, a kind of interim measures so that the ready availability of gas for domestic market and for electricity purposes. It was meant to last a number of years, but its license has been extended now for another 5 years, which means embed may be phased out completely at some point when the electricity market becomes stable and competitive, to the extent that willing buyer, willing seller kind of thing will come to play. So the government will not need to guarantee anybody gas. If you want gas, you go and buy it. You use it to generate electricity and charge tariff and recoup your money with yield. So that's the trend that the government wants to go. So when government gets into the realm of serious level playing field that instates competition, healthy competition in the power sector, there'll be no need for embed. and government may then revoke the embed license and dissolve it, or as we have been arguing, embed may transform to another entity like NDIC. That's why I advocated that embed should be merged with Nigerian Electricity Liability Company (NELCO) to now form something like the power sector investment guarantee kind of thing, or insurer, so that power sector will not fail the way NDIC stabilizes bank. That's what we're advocating in case the current license regime of embed expires. So we still want government to restructure it and make it like the insurer of the power sector. It's an advice to government. I'm sure they may look into it, they may not look into it. We offer several options and advice to the government as to how to reform the power sector. The power sector is still challenged, and I'm sure we'll get there someday. So again, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the second lecture. I will see you by the grace of God on Friday for the third topic, as I hope to conclude hopefully next Monday with the last topic. And then that last Monday, I don't know what will happen. We will not, when we meet on Friday, we'll talk about what we need to do in the last lesson, so I can quickly wrap up because of impending. So, guys, have a lovely day, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye.